when you follow your bliss, and by bliss I mean the deep sense of being in it and doing what the push is out of your own existence. You follow that, and doors will open where you would not have thought there were going to be doors, and where there wouldn't be a door for anybody else. And there's something about the integrity of a life, and the world moves in and helps.
The hero's journey is the well-known, widely touted story framework that our evolutionary brains have latched onto and will never let go. Joseph Campbell had it right, and every story you've ever known is comprised of the well-documented path of the hero. I won't take the time to break it all down since others have ad nauseum, but the basic idea is that in most tried and true storytelling frameworks, the hero of the story goes on an adventure from the known world into the unknown, gets guidance from mentors and helpers, and conquers challenges and temptations. There's inevitably a revelation, a rebirth, a transformative experience, and the hero returns to a new, known world. I am not a hero, but here was my journey. I've been a follower of Chris Moran, aka the Midlife Pilot, since I began my private pilot training. His videos documenting his journey to private pilot helped and inspired me. He had all the apprehensions and anxieties that I had learning to fly. I could relate so much to his trepidation about the little things, and the way he presented his work was authentic and relatable. I could see myself in him. Seeing him persevere, sharing the fruits of his hard work with his family, and the moments he has flying with his daughter Cecilia, who is easily one of my favorite humans in the world now, it all made my pursuit feel achievable. I didn't have a community here in Nashville to guide me or show me the ropes or help me learn. My community became people like Chris all over the country who were so graciously sharing their knowledge and experiences. Fast forward, Chris and I have become good friends, and we do a podcast together called the Midlife Pilot Podcast. And we talk about all things flying in midlife, what that means. We have built a small but powerful community of aviators all in the same boat, and it has been so rewarding to connect with so many supportive and enthusiastic characters. In April this year, Chris set up a small fly-in event to gather pilots at his home in the Outer Banks, North Carolina, for a few days of flying and hanging out all around the aviation-rich sites in that area. For me, it would be my biggest challenge, a 600 nautical mile trek over mountains and all the way to the coast from Nashville, Tennessee. I scheduled flights ahead of it to build my endurance and my experience. I made a flight plan and devised the best route, and even had a CFI review it to make sure I was choosing the best path. I understand that for more experienced pilots, this trip would not be such a big deal, but for me as a new private pilot, I was determined to be as thorough and unassuming as possible. I left no stone unturned in my planning. I had to consider altitudes and paths for crossing mountains, have alternate airports in mind, and give myself as many outs as possible along the way, should I need to discontinue at any point. I thought about filming my flights, as I do, but I decided without hesitation I would not film anything. I wanted to be as fully present as possible, and my batteries wouldn't last the 3-hour legs anyway, so great, one less thing to think about. So I got to Ocracoke Airport after 2 flight legs with no incidents or difficulties. It worked out great that I was not filming also because my landing, among many on this trip, were less than butter smooth, let's say. Luckily, I was not alone, and all the great people that were flying in had moments of unglory as well. It was a blast to hang out with Chris and his awesome family. The hangs and the meals and the salt air were all worth the effort to get there. The plan was that we would all fly in line down the coastline of the Outer Banks and stop along the way at various airstrips and visit the first flight airport on the way back to Ocracoke. We also had a big idea to possibly go up to one of my bucket list areas to land and visit and explore, Tangier Island. And that was the plan. I think it was John Lennon that said, "Life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans." After a stunning, beautiful hour flight at 1,500 feet down the coastline of the Outer Banks, a low approach at Billy Mitchell, we all went to land at Ocracoke Island, a tiny airstrip on a sliver of an island to stop for lunch before heading back north to first flight and achieve the goal we all had to land at first flight, the birthplace of aviation. We had a great lunch. Everyone got back in their planes, and I decided to go out last so I wouldn't feel rushed through my run-up. I hate being rushed. I started the plane and began my run-up, and when I got to the mag check, this is what happened. One mag seemed like the plugs were fouled, but soon things got weirder. When trying to burn off the carbon on the plugs and switching back and forth between mags to keep testing, the mag was starting to act dead, like nothing was connected to it. I would have to switch back to both to save the engine from stalling out. I tried to get the engine at high enough RPM to burn off or sort out. The more I tried, though, the more it just ran rough. The plane was shaking, and then boom, a massive backfire. At that point, I knew I needed to shut it down. But I had one more thing to do without creating another problem of a dead battery. Everyone was gone. We were sitting on this little island strip wondering, what now? I quickly radioed out on the air-to-air frequency we were all using, with 50% success at least in my airplane, and I made the call.
152, I got a bad mag.
Do we need to come back?
Trying to burn it off, but it's just not working. And sometimes it just intermittently cuts out the left mag entirely. So I'm just sitting here trying to run it and lean it and see what happens. Left mag totally out.
Okay, I'm coming back.
Negative. I'd like 152, if anything, just for the capacity.
152, can you go over to 12275?
I'm here.
Hey, did you hear Brian? He has a left mag out and he's looking for you.
Let's huddle up here for a second. I don't want to go back right now. Let me talk to let's talk to Ben here in a minute and figure out what we're doing.
Roger.
I got to power down, guys.
Brian, get on your backup radio as soon as possible.
Ben, are you up on 12275?
Hey Ben, I think that you, me, and Chris need to coordinate because Brian has the left mag out. I'm turning back to go back there just to give options.
Anybody up on 12275?
Yeah, I'm here. Did you hear my little speech?
No.
We are, Brian has a left mag out, and I'm turning back to like give options. I don't think there's a lot of options I can offer. I don't have a lot of useful load to be able to carry both of them.
I can carry both of them. I'll turn back.
Okay, then I'm going to just continue on.
Sounds good. Was Brian on a radio frequency? Is he on the CCAP?
He's on 122.75 as soon as he gets his his handheld radio up.
All right, I'm heading that way now. If you happen to hear from him, I'll be listening out for him as well.
Roger.
Hey, Brian, this is Ben calling you from 122.75. If you can hear me, just want to let you know I'm heading down to come get you guys.
Traffic Cessna
Hey, Chris, you up?
circling Body Island Lighthouse, south
Yeah, I'm here.
traffic.
Should be coming to beam you right now. Have you heard back from Brian since his initial call? No, I haven't. They were working on trying to burn it off, or if it was just fouled, or if it was bad, that they couldn't get it going. And I didn't particularly want to land back there again.
Chris was unable to return, but Ben, the most experienced pilot of us all by a long shot, who also had gone out first and was furthest away, he came back for us. I call Ben the Sage.
Roger that. I'm on my way back. I'm just listening out for him now, the 2275. All right, man. I appreciate it.
Of course. Yeah, he did give an update that said the left mag was completely out.
That's not ideal. Nope. Wonder if I should work on getting a mechanic on the line. Very good question to ask the folks at Ocracoke.
Yeah, I got a contact up there. I wonder if I should head that way.
Yeah, maybe we could squeeze the first flight in tomorrow, early in the morning, and then head up to Tangier. I don't know. I'm game for whatever.
That works for me too. That works for me too.
All right, roger.
So Chris, is the plan for us to go back to direct to ONX?
I think I'm going to do that because I have contacts for 2 mechanics on the field.
Yeah, and I don't see any purpose of me going to first flight alone. So I think I'll just meet you guys back there.
Roger, I'm going to climb and get on a proper cruise altitude to do that trip.
I'll pick up the guys and then just head straight back to ONX.
Roger.
Ocracoke traffic, Skylane 4291 is 10 miles to the northeast.
The Sage came and had a look and listened to the engine and confirmed it was a no-go. We got in his plane, a beautiful 182, and left back for Ocracoke. Everyone canceled their plans, everything got derailed, but all was okay. I got to experience his 182, so much power and authority from the engine and the pilot. You can really feel the hours of experience with someone like the Sage. Everything is smooth, measured, calm, even, precise. I look forward to having that kind of energy in the plane. I think I have a lot of those qualities, but it's another level when flying with someone with hundreds of hours more experience. It's really palpable. Luckily, before we even all had arrived at the fly-in, Chris had already secured a mechanic in case anybody had an issue. And there's an A&P school on the airport at Ocracoke. The main instructor there, Dave, I immediately referred to as the professor. After all, he is a professor. He agreed to come down to Ocracoke the following morning, a Saturday morning, to have a look at the airplane. That next morning, I hopped into the Sage's 182 with the professor, and back down the coast we went. The professor is also a pilot. I was soaking it in, the quiet morning conversation, the theories as to what might be the issue with the airplane, eating protein bars and watching the beaches roll by in the deepest blue hues. We landed at Ocracoke, and the professor got right to work. Well, we got right to work. He laid out all of his tools, and he had me helping from the onset. He pulled the cowling off, we pulled the cowling off, and now the real education of this journey began. He walked me through his entire thinking process, the troubleshooting sequence, the order. We went over every component. He had me squinting to see which plugs were firing and checking the timing of the engine, pointing out countless details along the way. I couldn't believe I was so lucky to be getting this experience. I learned more per second in this 2-hour breakdown than I had in all of my private training about engines. How is this not part of the private pilot requirements anyway, I thought. The professor determined that it was either an intermittently bad mag or fouled plugs. I had flown for an hour at 1,500 feet and perhaps didn't lean as much as I should have. I always lean on the ground and as much as feasible. He mentioned the plugs in the plane were a brand and type that are particularly susceptible to fouling. I had really tried to burn it off, but to no avail. The professor cleaned everything up and we were ready to go back to Ocracoke. The Sage agreed that the best plan was to fly the coast all the way back and be prepared to land on the beach if anything happens, and that he would just follow along. I felt relieved but nervous about the return flight. After all, if it was a bad mag, I've only got one mag left. I called the owner of the plane and let him know we had sorted it out as best as possible and we were about to head back to Ocracoke. As I'm walking back to our planes, I see the professor picking up his tool bag under my wing. As I continue to walk forward, I'm thinking, I need to clear the passenger seat for him. The professor then turns and walks away from my plane and gets in the Sage's plane. I realized at that moment, I'm on my own. I'm thinking, why would he not fly back with me in my plane? Well, he is the professor, that's why. He's smart. If I were in his shoes, I probably would have done the same thing. It became a good joke for us to all enjoy when I safely returned. I white-knuckled the entire flight, but I built confidence in the engine over time. All to no issue. I made it. Everyone welcomed me and it felt like I'd gone missing during a wartime operation, and I made it out. We had some barbecue, laughed, and I got to enjoy this fine group of humans. All these geniuses in their own rights. The aviation community is truly that. The next day it was time to go home, back to Nashville. My passenger had left on another flight to another destination, so it was up to me to fly solo all the way back. I flew solo for 6 hours and 600 nautical miles the next day back to Nashville and had one of the most assuring, confidence-building flights of my life. By the time I got home, I was empty but full. Experience is the best teacher, but you must have spirit guides and teachers along the way to point you through the challenges. I'm a much better pilot now because of the professor and the sage. On return, I sent the professor a gift card and a thank you. He told me that he received it, and while he appreciated it, he would use it to fund supplies and things that he needed for his students. The future professors, the future sages. And this was the perfect landing for this entire trip. The circle was complete. In aviation, you find mentors and examples to follow, and they become your sphere of influence, aspirational figures. I hope that when I have as much experience as the professor and the sage, that I'm equally as good at paying it forward. Perhaps telling these stories is a start.